Today's video is all about KAYALI's newest Oudgasm collection. Now I have all 4 fragrances, so if you want to find out my first impressions on this newest collection, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you are visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I already mentioned in the intro, today's video is all about KAYALI's newest collection, which is the Oudgasm collection. Now there are 4 new fragrances and I have all 4 with me. Now granted, I haven't had these long, so this is just going to be a first impressions. I can't really tell you too much about longevity, but I can tell you a little bit about the strength of the fragrances. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into this review. So this is what the outer packaging looks like for all 4 of the fragrances, with the exception of each one has a different corresponding color. This is Rose Oud and it has pink detailing, if you can see that on camera. But yeah, there's no differences here. It's the same KAYALI packaging as all of the fragrances. And in terms of the size formats that will be available, you can buy either a 10 ml bottle or a 50 ml bottle. These will not be available in the 100 ml format. The first fragrance I'm going to talk about is Vanilla Oud. And I have a feeling this will be the most popular of the collection. I'm going to go through this collection in terms of strength of oud in each fragrance. So Vanilla Oud is the softest out of them all, and then I'm going to end on the strongest in terms of oud presence. Now, as I mentioned, I feel like Vanilla Oud is going to be the most popular because it's very subtle in terms of the oud in here, and it's a very, very likable scent. So just a bit of a backstory, I went to a KAYALI launch lunch today in London and we had a little bit of a showcase from the KAYALI team on each fragrance. So I have a little bit of information to share with you in terms of availability, etc. and inspiration behind, but I'm going to try and not do a hyped up review of each of these fragrances. I'm just going to talk about my first impressions. So in terms of notes, Vanilla Oud has vanilla sugar, praline, saffron, white musk, oak moss, and oud. And the perfumer of this is the same perfumer as Vanilla 28. There was actually 2 perfumers on this perfume, but they wanted to bring a little bit of the Vanilla 28 flair to Vanilla Oud. Now, I have the dry down here, but I'm also going to do a fresh spray also. So this is a very, very beautiful soft vanilla that's not as sweet as Vanilla 28 for reference. Now it is sugary, but I perceive this as being more of a powdered sugar. And the vanilla is more soft and powdery, which is really beautiful given this is a Vanilla Oud fragrance. It's not too in your face. It's a very soft oud, almost barely detectable, which I think is a good thing because if you are scared of oud fragrances, or if oud is not your thing, I feel like you should still sample this fragrance because it's soft, it's likable, it's slightly sweet, but it's very rounded. I definitely get the praline and I definitely get the musk, but the oud is very, very soft. I sprayed this one all over me at the event because I really like the cocooning effect that it has, and this is definitely one of my favorites from the collection, so I thought this is going to be the one that I want to spray all over me. And it has a really nice scent bubble, but it's not too much, it's not too obnoxious, it's just very, very pretty. That's the only way I can describe this one. It's soft, it's powdery, it's buttery. It's definitely sweet, but it's not sickly sweet. Vanilla 28 is a lot sweeter than Vanilla Oud, but I would say Vanilla Royale packs a lot more punch than Vanilla Oud. So this kind of sits in the middle. It's a very classy, classic fragrance. I think it's been beautifully executed, and I do feel like so many people are going to absolutely love this. Now, this is a first impressions. I can't tell you about longevity. I will come back with an updated review of these fragrances. But what I will say is, of course, they are going to be selling these fragrances in 10 ml bottles. So the safest way would be to pick up a 10 ml size if you're not too sure. But I do feel like this one is going to be the most popular of the 4 fragrances. The next fragrance is Café Oud. And this is the one I was most excited to smell because I love coffee in fragrances. And coffee and oud together sounds incredible. So let me read you the notes. This one has cappuccino, geranium, rose, white musk, vanilla, and oud. And I had this one on my skin at the event. So I decided to spray 2 of these fragrances, 1 on each hand, so I could kind of experience it during the event. And I think this one is my favorite out of the 4. It's very hard to say given that these are just first impressions. I haven't had an experience really wearing them all day, wearing them out of the house, but I do feel like this one is really unique in DNA. Now, that cappuccino note, to me, I get a ground coffee. So I don't know if you've ever smelt ground coffee, but that is what I get. I don't get a milky cappuccino. That's just me personally. It's not milky and lactonic. I do understand the cappuccino note. There definitely is a frothiness about this, but it's just not lactonic. And you almost get a chocolatey vibe with it, like the cappuccino has a dusting of chocolate on it. Now this is a little bit floral, but the florals aren't too in your face. And you might be thinking, is this going to be similar to Intense Cafe by Montel? And no, it's not. Intense Cafe by Montel is very sweet and in your face. Whereas this one, in my opinion, is quite soft, and it's almost the more sophisticated and classier version of Intense Cafe. But if you're thinking it's going to be similar, it's really not, at least to me. The coffee is a lot more prominent in Café Oud. The oud, again, is very soft and very well rounded. It's not in your face at all. And again, if you're not a huge fan of oud, I urge you to still sample Café Oud. This is very vanillic and musky too. I would say the coffee is most prominent, and I definitely get the geranium and rose. The musk is there, but it's not overly musky in any way. And I just think this is such a fantastic fragrance. I really want to layer the vanilla oud and Café Oud together because I think that will be a winning combination. But upon first impressions, I think Café Oud is my favorite, but I'll round it up at the end of this video. I do think this is a little bit of a standout in the collection. And again, I think a lot of people will like this. Sorry, I forgot to do the sample. Yeah, so this is dried down a little bit. And I'm definitely getting the rose, but it's not super sweet in any way. It's musky. The coffee's a little bit dark. Like I said, I pick up kind of ground coffee vibes from this. I definitely get the vanilla, and the oud is extremely soft. In terms of strength, the vanilla oud has the least amount of oud. This one is quite close in similarities in terms of how much oud is in the fragrance. But yeah, I really, really like this one. I think it's a stunning fragrance, and I will update you on the longevity of it. But upon the first impressions, this one has a little bit more kick to it than vanilla oud. Next up, we have rose oud, and this one definitely packs a punch. I can smell the test sample strip below, which is sat on my lap, and I can smell it in the air already. So we're kicking it up in terms of strength a little bit from a vanilla oud and Café Oud. Now, if you are a rose oud lover, you will absolutely need to try this one because I feel like this keeps a very traditional rose and oud DNA, and it definitely has that Middle Eastern vibe about it. But it's, again, not too sweet. It's perfectly balanced, and the oud is a lot more prominent within this composition. So this one has notes of lemon, geranium, Bulgarian rose, vanilla, cashmere wood, and oud. And yeah, this one is definitely packing more punch than the previous two fragrances. I'm pretty sure this will have a large sillage and last a very long time on the skin. And I get that kind of jammy rose that I really love in fragrances. This is the type of scent profile that really got me into fragrances. I used to just love rose ouds so much. It's a little bit earthy, it's dark, it's mysterious. The geranium is there, but it's not super prominent. And if you don't know, geranium sometimes pulls quite similar to rose. I get a little bit of that lemon, and you often find lemon in rose oud fragrances. And again, it reminds me of Middle Eastern scent profiles. I don't necessarily pick up the cashmere wood, but this one is a very sexy, dark, and mysterious fragrance. And I feel like if you're a rose oud lover, you will not be able to go wrong with this one personally. Now, the oud is definitely more prominent in here than cafe oud and vanilla oud, but it's a very smooth oud. Again, there's no kind of skankiness in here. And if you love oud fragrances, you'll probably understand what I mean by skanky oud. It is very soft, well-rounded, and I don't get any kind of harsh skankiness in the opening, but the oud is definitely prominent. This is definitely pretty strong, as I've already mentioned. But in terms of the whole collection, it's not my favorite from the collection, but at the same time, I think it's absolutely beautifully done. And the last fragrance in the collection is Tobacco Oud. And this one is without a doubt the strongest within the collection. It has a huge scent bubble, and I don't think you would need a lot of this to be smelt by the whole room. Now, this is oud. It has that skankiness in the opening. Not too skanky where I wouldn't wear it, but it's definitely got that kind of skanky oud vibe to it. And to me, skanky oud can sometimes smell a little bit sweaty or a little bit barnyard. This is a very beautifully done fragrance, but I feel like it would be the most polarizing out of the collection. And I feel like this one will not be a love for as many people as some of the other fragrances, but at the same time, I feel like this is a big standout in many ways. This opens up to a bigger audience. I think lots of men will love this fragrance. Let me read you the notes. So this has mandarin, white honey, geranium again, vanilla, tobacco, and oud. Geranium features a lot in these fragrances, I have just noticed. And yet you do get a lot of tobacco and you also do get a lot of honey. And I'm picking up a big dose of honey, and honey and tobacco are beautiful together. But the oud is present from start to finish. Now, how I would probably wear this fragrance is with vanilla oud layered, or maybe even vanilla 28. I need to try that composition. But in terms of the scent profile, this might be a little bit overpowering for my own taste, but I do feel like this is going to be a hit, specifically with people who like more masculine leaning fragrances. And it's extremely unique within the KAYALI lineup. There's nothing like this. But yeah, this is the strongest in terms of oud. Now, I will revisit all of these as I've mentioned, but what I do feel like is KAYALI has really thought about this collection and thought about making something for everyone. And they have truly done that with this collection. Anything from the more softer vanilla oud right through to the beast mode tobacco oud. So I'm going to put this down and then we will have a little chat about the whole collection. If I was to rank them in terms of my preference on a first impressions, I'm going to go number 1, Cafe Oud, number 2, Vanilla Oud, number 3, Rose Oud, and number 4, Tobacco Oud. And that's just in terms of the ones that I feel like I would wear the most. And as I mentioned, I feel like there really is something for everyone. Now, they only come in 10 ml size format and a 50 ml size format, which I've already mentioned. And in terms of where you're going to be able to smell or sample these fragrances, unfortunately, it's only going to be available in Harrods, which is obviously in the United Kingdom. So what I would recommend, if you are really unsure, is to get the 10 ml size format first, and then you could upgrade to the 50 ml size format if you really like them. But I'm sure there's going to be lots of different reviews on this collection. And like I said, I wanted to give an objective review here and not hype it up too much because they're very, very new. I need more time to play around with them. And I forgot to mention that they've actually designed matching bouquet to each of these scents, which I got to sample today. And I think that's such a lovely idea because what you can do is you can light the bouquet and you can scent your clothing with the smoke and then obviously layer the matching perfume. And I love how they're making bouquet accessible to the whole world. I personally had never tried bouquet until today, and I feel like I've been missing out. It's such a beautiful ritual, and I urge more of you to try it, but there will be more information on that soon. But that was my review of the new KAYALI OUDGASM collection. Please let me know what you think about this new launch. Do any of them stand out to you? And if so, which ones? But rest assured, I will come back with updated reviews when I've actually had time to experience these in more details. I wanted to get this video out as more of an informational piece on each fragrance and which ones I like on a first impressions. But again, I haven't had much experience with them yet. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.